Hey, what's up, guys? This is David Chase Taylor of 911truther.org. Today is January 20th of 2025. So, based on breaking news and events, it appears the CIA headquarters located beneath CERN at Lake Geneva in Switzerland is going to stage an escalating wave of civil unrest and terrorism in the United States in the aftermath of Donald J. Trump being sworn in as the 47th President of the United States today. So exactly what type of attacks or terror events the CIA has planned is obviously not known, but they're expected to commence on the evening of January 20th of 2025 and likely coming to fruition between now and the Super Bowl on February 9th of 2025. So essentially, it would likely start small and then escalate. This is specifically designed to derail the impending Trump presidency. So obviously, exactly what type of attacks are planned is obviously unknown, but essentially what the CIA is planning to do is to take the Trump presidency as the motive for the impending attacks, which will be executed by agent provocateurs such as Antifa, Black Lives Matter, BLM, the Black Panther Party, BPP, Bloods, Crips, Stop Cop City, SCC, Code Pink, basically left-wing groups. And it will likely start with an escalating wave of arson attacks, mass lootings, race riots, race war attacks as pretext for retaliatory race war attacks, smash and grab attacks, and vandalization attacks across America, specifically designed to trigger martial law and the deployment of the U.S. National Guard. So essentially what the CIA is trying to do is to take the impending Trump presidency and then basically start a war between left-wing factions. These are. It's important to note here. These are agent provocateurs working on behalf of the CIA. We saw this during the George Floyd riots, and in the Antifa riots in Portland and Seattle, where these people get arrested for committing crimes and then they're just let out of jail immediately, and that's because these are agent provocateurs that are working with some federal agency, most likely. So they're getting let out. So we can expect between Inauguration Day today, January 20th of 2025, and Super Bowl LIX in New Orleans on February 9th of 2025, we can expect a escalating wave of domestic terrorism, including the aforementioned riots, as well as 9/11 style airplane or helicopter attacks, acid attacks, arson attacks, biological attacks, bombings, chemical attacks, dirty bomb attacks, fire bombings, grenade attacks, graffiti attacks, hostage crisis kidnappings, improvised explosive device IED attacks, mail and or package bombing attacks, mass shootings, mass stabbings, Molotov cocktail attacks, occupations, pipe bombings, radiological attacks, ramming attacks, sieges, storming, sniper attacks, self-immolation attacks, storming attacks, suicide bombings, as well as vehicle-borne improvised device IED attacks, and as well as weaponized contagion attacks such as anthrax, Ebola, ricin, and smallpox. So obviously that's a lot of different scenarios, but the most likely scenario is going to start on the evening of January 20th, most likely in Washington, D.C., where a number of high-profile events are going on. We also have Atlanta, Georgia, which is going to host the college football championship game on the evening of January 20th of 2025 between Notre Dame and Ohio State University. So these two events on the evening of January 20th are going simultaneously. So this is just conjecture, but it appears that the CIA is going to stage events in both cities. In Atlanta, it's most likely going to be riots, and this is designed to burn Atlanta to the ground. Atlanta was burnt down during the Civil War, and the CIA is planning on staging a wave of arson attacks. That's exactly why we had the fires started in Los Angeles, and that they were, even though these were likely the result of direct energy weapons based off of NATO satellites above Los Angeles, they arrested a number of arsonists for these attacks, and this is designed to set the precedent for arsonists being arrested in Washington, D.C. and or Atlanta. So Washington, D.C. and Atlanta will most likely be targeted on the evening of January 20th. So in respect to Washington, D.C., we have a Trump victory rally that's going on right now at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., which will likely come under a riot attack. So this is going to be likely Antifa, Code Pink, Black Lives Matter, etc., are probably going to storm Capital One Arena this evening. Other events in Washington, D.C. include, but are not limited to, the Turning Point Ball, the parade, which is, as I mentioned, is going on at the Capital One Center. Then we have tonight, we have the Commander-in-Chief Ball, the Liberty Inaugural Ball, the Starlight Ball, and then we have Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook is having a Facebook party. So those are the events that are going on this evening, which may suffer an attack, as well as the college championship football game in Atlanta, Georgia. So the most likely event, aside from what I mentioned going forward, is that because Donald J. Trump was instrumental in reversing Roe versus Wade, and then today, during his inaugural address, Trump basically stated that the official policy of the United States will be male and female. So it appears that the CIA is planning to stage some sort of woke revenge attack targeting the Trump administration or local, state, or federal government or medical-related entities in the United States under the guise of a revenge attack. So you'll recall a few months ago, or actually a few years ago, after the Roe versus Wade was reversed, there was this group called Jane's Revenge, and they had this night of rage. And so this impending attack, it looks like it's going to be blamed on some liberal professors. So these may be black professors, these may be gay, lesbian, trans professors, but some sort of academia, because they want to sell the notion that weaponizing some sort of contagion such as anthrax, Ebola, ricin, or smallpox is not only possible, but that it could be done and then transmitted to the public. So essentially the nutty professor type of deal, some mad scientists. So this appears to be what is going on. So this is likely going to come out of some sort of Ivy League or a high-profile university, possibly Stanford, Yale, Columbia, Dartmouth, some sort of high-profile school that likely will have a biological program or will have access to a biological program. And that is precisely why back on December 8th of 2019, the CIA began to perpetuate this narrative across the world that the COVID-19 virus emanated from a laboratory at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China. So this is designed to set the precedent as well as foreshadow a secondary virus being released, and this will likely be called the woke virus, which coincidentally Trump supporter Elon Musk has been coined or has been repeatedly used this phrase. I'm not sure if he coined the phrase, but he's brought international recognition to the phrase. And so because of all the anti-woke policies that Trump instituted on day one of his administration today, January 20th, 2025, the impending attack, I'm not sure if it's going to be a bombing, I'm not sure if it's going to be some sort of virus release, but coincidentally, there was I believe it was called Dark Winter. Let me just check here. So back on June 21st through 22nd of 2001, the CIA executed a bioterrorism exercise entitled Dark Winter, which featured 3 simultaneous smallpox attacks targeting shopping malls in Atlanta, Georgia, Oklahoma City, and Philadelphia. And then a few years prior, on February 20th of 1999, the CIA executed a bioterrorism exercise entitled Doctor's Play, which featured smallpox attack targeting a political rally in Baltimore, Maryland. So obviously a PhD is a doctorate degree, and this is designed to foreshadow some sort of professor, some sort of academic that became angry or disenfranchised with the system and then decided to take matters into their own hand and release some sort of contagion to the public. And this professor will predictably have anti-human rhetoric attached to them. So they're probably going to be some sort of professor that is speaking out against population and probably a pro-eugenics doctor. So that appears to be what's in order. So we can expect an unprecedented wave of domestic civil unrest and domestic violence and or terror attacks commencing on the evening of January 20th of 2025 and culminating in made-for-TV terror attacks, which will predictably become CBRN in nature. That's chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear, which is specifically designed to spawn a second global biological pandemic, as well as trigger martial law and the deployment of the U.S. National Guard. That being said, there's also the high possibility that in the aftermath of Trump's anti-woke legislation, I haven't seen the 200 executive orders that he has signed today, but I'm pretty confident that a lot of them are going to be addressing the so-called woke ideology of that's permeated American society under the Democrats. And so it's highly likely that the CIA is going to stage mass shootings targeting schools that will be subsequently blamed on mentally ill trans students. And I can't get into it now, but there's a number of shootings which have, including the Covenant school shooting in Tennessee, and a bunch of others that have been blamed on trans people. And so this is obviously designed to spark a civil war in the United States over the right to keep and bear arms. Obviously, now that Trump is in office, that's less likely, but there's also the possibility that the CIA would stage these type of shootings. So obviously, if any of the aforementioned events come to fruition in reality, I kindly ask that you download this video and share with local, state, and federal law enforcement, military, and intelligence officials, as well as with local, national, and international media outlets.